भेज दे।
कर दे, हाँ मेल कर दी है। उसमें लिखा ना इंस्टाग्राम पोस्ट फॉर आर प्रोग्रामिंग बैचेस फ्रॉम 21st to 26 सितंबर। उसमें लिखा है ना सब, वो तो मैं चेक कर ली एक बार, आप भी देख लो। एकदम एक्सपर्ट फोटोशॉप वाले की तरह जल्दी से क्रॉप करके पड़ेगी तुम्हारे साथ।
डब्ल्यू कैपिटल करना था वर्कशॉप का।
वर्कशॉप का उसमें नहीं था, जो आपने डाल के रखी ना उसमें भी नहीं था, तो
अच्छा,
मैंने
सुन
इसलिए
नहीं
नहीं
था,
किया।
कोई बात।
मैंने करने वाला था वरना।
Recording is on. And we were studying about few hypotheses. I explained few numericals. I think this I shared to you, this PPT already.
All done. Some pages.
So we have finished up to here in the last session, the test of proportion of success. And I have explained this also. But this also we have done, the overhauling wala. We have completed this. And, talking about the large sample. There is a problem statement. We have an auto company decided to introduce a new 6-cylinder car whose mean petrol consumption is claimed to be lower than that of existing auto engine. It has found that the mean petrol consumption of the 50 cars was 10 km per liter with a standard deviation of 3.5 km per liter. Test for the company at 5% level of significance whether the claim the new car petrol consumption is 9.5 kilometer per liter on the average is acceptable or not. Company claims that the average petrol consumption is 9.5 kilometer per hour. And we have taken a sample of 50 cars and we checked the average petrol consumption of those 50 cars. We got 50 kilometer per liter with a standard deviation of 3.5 kilometer per liter. So we had to prove that the claim of the manufacturer of the car is acceptable or not acceptable with respect to mileage of the car. So we take a null hypothesis. There is no significant difference between the sample average and the company's claim. So first we find out the standard error. That is we have the sample and the standard deviation of the sample we divide by root n. So we get here 0.495, which is our standard error. Z test, we know that the difference over standard error, it is 10 minus 9.5 over 0.495. We divide it by the standard error and we get 1.01. It is on the 5% level of significance. So the 5% level of significance, the Z value is 1.96. This is very, very less than that. 1.96 is 1.01. It is less than that. So our null hypothesis has been accepted that there is no significant difference between the sample average and the company's claim. Means company's claim is acceptable. Does that make sense to you? Is there any doubt while understanding the hypothesis why we have accepted or not? Yeah. Is there any doubt? No? So let us proceed. Okay. So proceed to next problem. Two-tailed test for difference between the means of two large samples. We know that if two independent random samples with n1 and n2 numbers, both samples sizes are greater than 30, respectively, are drawn from the same population of the standard deviation sigma. The population standard deviation is sigma, is given to us, and we have to find out uh, the G test. We have to perform the G test. So how we could perform this? So first, we find out the standard error, which is the formula is given there. Square root of sigma square 1 upon n1 plus 1 upon n2. The population SD is unknown. If the population SD is unknown, here the population SD is given. If the population SD is given, you will write here the population SD. You will use this formula for uh, standard error calculation. But if the population standard deviation is not given, then you should have you should have to find out the standard deviation of both the samples, and then you could find out the combined SD for that, for first sample and the second sample. The formula of finding out the combined SD: n1 is to sigma 1 square, n2 is to plus n2 and into sigma 2 square plus n1 d1 square plus n2 dt square. What does it mean by d1? D1 is the mean deviation of first sample, sorry, mean of first sample minus combined mean. Okay, the both samples x bar 1 2 is the group mean. We could say that we find out the group mean. How do we find out the group mean? I explain you. Here it is given already: n1 x1 plus n2 x2 n1 plus n2. In this way we find out this mean. So we find out this, and then d1 is x1 bar minus x bar 1 2, and d2 is x2 bar minus x bar 1 2. So this formula we use, but in R we not required any formula. It's just for understanding I am showing you. And how we get that standard error? So for the combined standard error, we get in this way: sigma 1 square plus sigma 2 square n1 upon the sigma 1 square over n1 plus sigma 2 square over n2, and we take the square root of this. And now we take one problem. Intelligence test of two groups, boys and girls, gave the following results. Mean of the both group is given to us. SD of the group is given to us, and the number of girls and the boys is also given to us. We have to find out, is there a significant difference in mean scores obtained by boys and girls. So we will take the null hypothesis. There is no significant difference in the mean scores obtained by boys and girls. And then we use that formula. We could find out in this way. First we find out the combined mean. So it is the mean is 75 into n1 150, 70 into 250, n1 plus n2. We get 71.88 combined mean. And then we find out the d1 deviation. So we get 75 is 3.12 and d2 is 1.88. Then we find out the combined SD, which would be, we use this formula and we write the things whatever we have got, and we get 18.44 is the combined standard deviation. And then we find out the standard error. We put here 18.44, and in this way we could find it out, standard error. Now we find out the difference: 75 minus 70 over 2.61. So at 5% level, or the 1% level also, because the 1% level we get the G value is calculate the table G value is 2.58, or it is 2.61. It is greater than that. If it is greater than 2.58, it is also greater than 1.96. So 5% is also rejected and 1% also rejected. Okay, if the some hypothesis, null hypothesis rejected at 1%, it already is rejected on 5% also. So it is 2.61. So since the difference is more than 2.58 at 1% of significance, the null hypothesis is rejected. Hence, there is significant difference in the score of boys and girls. So let you know that here the girls mean is higher. So in the girls, in the intelligence test, the girl is better than boys. Girls are better than boys in the intelligence test. Does that make sense to everyone?
Sir, I have a doubt.
Yes,
Where
sir.
is this 2.58 coming, sir? 1.96 is correct, sir. But what is this 2.58 coming?
It is, we have two default point. One is for 5% level of significance. It is the 1% level of significance we are checking. The 1% level of significance, the value is 2.58.
Oh,
And
okay.
the 5% level of significance, the value is
1.96.
1.96.
All right, 1.96 I remember, but I
Yeah,
didn't remember
it
the
is on the 1%.
Okay.
If something is rejected on 1%, then it will be rejected on the
Okay, okay.
1.96 also.
Okay.
Now we see one more example. It is the example of that or not? This we have done. Okay. A man buys 50 electric bulbs of Philips and 50 electric bulbs of Crompton. He finds that Philips bulbs give an average life of 1500 hours with a standard deviation 60 hours. And Crompton bulbs give an average life of 1512 hours with a standard deviation of 80 hours. Is there a significant difference in the mean life of the two max of bulbs? This is a problem statement. So what null hypothesis we will take here? There is no significant difference in the mean life of two max of bulbs in the Philips and the Crompton. So we have the different standard deviation for both. So what we do, sigma 1 square plus sigma 2 square over n1 n2. Okay, and we get here 14.14, which is the standard error. Okay, and difference we see here, the G scale, 1500 minus 1512, and that is the test 14 divided by the 14.14, and we get the 0.849, which is, this is less than 1.96. It means our null hypothesis has been accepted that there is no significant difference in the mean life of two max of bulbs. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, we have seen that our sample size is more than 30. So we are conducting the G test or the Z test, somebody says that. And if we have the sample size less than 30, we use the T test instead of G test, because I will explain you why we do it. But in R, we use only T test. The whether size, sample size, whether any. There is no botheration about the sample size. I explain why it happens. Manually we use this. So if you see you will get the normal curve like this. For a small sample less than 30, you will get the curve like this. The kurtosis is difference there. So we get the T test. There is not much difference between both. If we are taking a standard error, if we have if the standard error is given to us, then we multiply it by root n. And if standard deviation is given to us, standard deviation is for sample, and the standard error is not given to us, the standard deviation is given, then we multiply it by root n minus 1. This is for single sample. No, the theoretical work T distribution was done by Judge W.S. Gossett, 1980s, 1876 and 1937. Testing difference between means of two samples. If we have two samples, independent and dependent, there are very important things. What is dependent and what is independent? Just like if we have solved previous question, boys and girls, one question. It means they were independent sample. Girls were independent, the boys were independent, both were independent. So we could use this. But suppose you are doing some study like the marks of mathematics and science. You are comparing for the same students in a class. Some class is this, class 10th A section, suppose we have, and we are comparing the marks. We see the significant difference in the marks of maths and science. So these are the same respondents we have for the both subjects. So this is dependent. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes, sir.
One more thing. If we are giving some therapy to the patient or some respondents, whatever the students are there, or in some rehabilitation center, anywhere, and the respondents we have the same, we have taken some test first, and after giving the some uh, treatment to them, again we have checked it for the same respondents. So it is also dependent. Does that make sense to you? It is pre and post. Pre and post, before and after. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, sir.
Before giving some therapy and after the therapy. Okay, we take the test and we check it. If there is significant difference or not. If the significant difference is found, then the therapy is fruitful. It is beneficial.
So the
So
second one is okay, clear, sir. Respondent and before and after treatment.
before and
But
after we
why?
have the same respondents.
Yeah, that is clear that they are dependent. But why the class marks should be dependent? Marks of mathematics and science can be
Respondents
independent,
are
right?
same. No, respondents are same, no, sir.
So whenever you have common respondents, that means it is dependent. That's what you're
Depend.
saying.
Depend.
Though the parameter, whatever you are measuring, variables like math, science, or anything, though they
Parameters
are
we could take
independent,
different parameters. We could take
that
the
they are all
different.
independent, right?
Yeah. Here you see the
All right.
boys are different and the girls are different here.
So that is independent, correct. But
That
this
is
one, this one only I had doubt.
if I take the different classes, suppose section A and section B, and I compare the marks of mathematics only, then I could compare the one subject marks. I have the section 2 already. So these are the independent.
Independent.
These are the independent.
Okay.
Okay, sir. So I clear this and we proceed for so it is the now we are doing, we have seen that we have taken the example of that or not. Okay, I have not taken some example for this, but we will cover in that R practically. Okay, so we see another test which is the chi-square test. This is the only test which is used for parametric as well as non-parametric data. Okay, it is widely used for categorical data. The quantity chi-square describes the magnitude of the discrepancy between theory and observation. Between theory and observation. It is defined as chi-square is equal to summation of O minus E square over E. O is for the observed and E for the expected. O is the observation and E is the theory. Here degree of freedom, we see it is the C minus 1 over R minus. C is the column, number of column minus 1 and number of row minus 1. So conditions for applying chi-square test we see n must be reasonably large to ensure the similarity between theoretically correct. N should be large. It should not be 10 or 15 or 20. The number of observations we should have more. It should be used when n is smaller than 50. It should not be used when n is smaller than 50. The sample size should be greater than 50. At least 50 it should be. No theoretical cell frequency should be small when the expected frequencies are too small. It is less than 5, use Yates correction. If any of the cell we have the frequency less than 5, then we have to use the Yates correction. Or we have to use the Fisher test. And pull the frequency which are less than 5. Then in Yates correction we pull the frequency. So we don't do that thing in R, we use the Fisher test instead of this. Additive property of chi-square, I will explain you additive property of chi-square later. We have 3 tests of chi-square test. Chi-square test is a test of independence, test of goodness of fit, or test of homogeneity. So test as a test of independence, we can find out whether 2 or more attributes are associated or not. Suppose 2 or more attributes are associated or not. Suppose we have a gender one column, there is male and female. Another column is the socio-economic status. And they are working in some organization, persons. There are males and females and having different socio-economic status they have. So whether we have to check whether they are associated or not, the means the SES scale and the gender is associated or not. If it is associated, means the high, suppose hypothetically I am telling, high SES females are there and the medium and low SES males are there. Okay. So I have seen this thing. It is practically I have got this thing in the schools. Few of the schools I have got this thing. Because their husbands are doing very good job somewhere. The females' husbands are doing somewhere they are an IT company or somewhere in the managerial post. So their SES scale is very high. But the males teachers who are working over there, their SES skill is medium or lower than medium and low. This I have done some analysis on the schools. Are you agree with me or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So it happens because they have to spend their time in some productive work. The females want to do some work because their husbands are busy in work and so they want to spend their time some in productive. So this is the very common field, they have good English knowledge and everything. Language is very, language, we could say English is very well of those women. They speak very well. And so I have this, I have seen this discrimination over here. Second is the chi-square test is a test of goodness of fit. It enables us to ascertain how appropriately the theoretical distributions such as binomial, Poisson, normal. We have the different theoretical distribution. Normal distribution you are a little bit aware about. The binomial is also as a normal, but it is for the discrete data. Okay. Poisson distribution is a different. It is not a normal one. It is a little bit exponential. And we see whether our observed frequency follow some theoretical distribution or not. Either it may be uniform distribution, it may be beta distribution, it may be Poisson distribution, it may be normal distribution. So we have to check it. Goodness of it. Whatever you have collected the data, you have the data, actual data, their frequency is fitting some theoretical distribution or not. That we have to find out. So it is called the goodness of it. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes, sir.
And third one is the test of homogeneity. Homogeneity, we are all aware in the decision tree. I explained this word. Homogeneity, the same, the similarity. To determine whether the two or more independent random samples are drawn from the same population or from different population. Okay, the homogeneity test, we take this. So that is why this chi-square test is very, very popular. So we see one problem here. In an anti-malarial campaign in a certain area, quinine was administered to 812 persons out of total population 3,248. The number of fever cases is shown below. Observed frequency and expected frequency I have written there. How we get the expected frequency, I will explain it. We just get this thing in the question. This table they give us. They give us the quinine, the fever, the patients who has fever 20 and no fever 792, but they have given quinine to everyone. 812 patients they have given administered. You know, quinine was administered to 812, where the 20 were not affected with fever, and no, 20 were affected with fever, and 792 were not affected with fever. And the remaining patients out of 23248, subtracting 812, remaining 2436, they have not given quinine. They have not been given quinine. So fever was in those 3248, they have 220 having fever, and 2216 don't have any fever. And we see the fever, the persons who are having fever is the 240 total, and not having fever 3008, and the total 3248. Now we find out this expected frequency. How we get it? I explain you that. So what I do, I will get this 60, I will multiply 240 and 812. Multiply these two. 248 and 802. Okay, because you see here, and we divide it by 3248. You get 60. Does that make sense to everyone? It is the expected.
Yes, sir.
This is for one. I take another one. I change the color first. You could better understand the thing. Take this blue. If I have to find out the expected of this one, this we have got. So I will take here. I will multiply 3008 with 2436 divided by total. So I will get 2256. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes, sir.
If I have to find for this cell, then I will use 240 into 3426, 2436, sorry, and 3248. So I will get this one. If I have to find out this one, then I will go here and here. I will multiply this and divide by 3 to 4. Does that make sense to everyone? It's very easy to find out the expected frequency or not. I think it's easy. Okay. So we got this. Now what we do, we make a table. 20, 220, 792, 216. Any, you could write in this way or you could write in this way. But you have to write the same both. If you are writing in this way, then you have to write this way also. And the same in the E also expected. These are the expected 60, 180, 752, 2256. Okay, here also we have taken in the similar way 20, 220. This is the observed and this is the expected. Then we find out the difference of this. The difference we get minus 40 and then we make the square of this, so we get 1600. Fortunately, all we are getting same. It doesn't happen. Sometimes it happens. So the value will be different, but here the value are same. Then we divide this by E. E is this one. So 1600 divided by 60. So we get this. 1600 we divided by 180. We get this. 1600 divided by 752. So we get this. And 1600 divided by 2256. So we get this. And we added them. So we get 38.393. Okay. So this is the additive property. We are adding this. Okay. We are adding this. Suppose we have another sample from the same population. This was the sample size 3248. Or we have the sample of a next colony of 4,300 people. And we also find out this. And then we get the chi-square something 32 point whatever 49, or this we have for this sample. So what does it mean by additive property? If you have to find the chi-square for combined the whole, so we just have to add on this 32.49 and 38.39. We add on this. So it is the 70.88. Does that make sense to everyone? This property I have written here. Additive property of chi-square. That is the additive property. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now we see another problem.
Sir, in the previous case also, the final result, the
Yeah,
3.84 is coming from where, sir? That was on the table. Is it chi-square table or what?
chi-square table. Chi-square table. This is the degree of freedom. The R minus 1, we have the 2 row. Here the 2 row we have, and the 2 minus 1, and 2 columns we have. So 2 minus 1, 1 into 1 is 1. So we see in the chi-square table the degree of freedom 1 we will see in the row of degree of freedom 1. We see there is a value. The table value is 3.84. So the null hypothesis is rejected. So because the our value is greater than that table value. Similarly, as we have done in the G test.
Okay.
If the value is greater, then it will reject it. So our null hypothesis that there is no significant difference, and we could say the effect of quinine or whatever. So if there is a quinine is effective, useful checking malaria. Next we see one more problem. The number of defects per unit in a sample of 330 units of manufactured product was found is number of defects per unit in a sample of 330 units of manufactured products was found is the zero number of units 214 we have not found any defect. In 92 units we have found one defect, and 20 units we have found two defects. 3 units we have found 3 defects, and the 1 unit we have found that 4 defects. So it is a Poisson distribution basically. Okay, if we talk about the defect, then the Poisson distribution applies over there most of the time. So fit a Poisson distribution to the data and test the goodness of fit. So how we get this? So it is the Poisson distribution. We have a formula for the Poisson distribution by which we are getting this value. Okay, and I'm forgetting that formula a little bit. I just see that formula, Poisson distribution. Because I have not taught the theoretical part for a very long time. This is a Poisson distribution formula. Lambda is here mean, and R is the this one number of defects. R0, 1, 2, 3, 4 we will write, and lambda is mean. E we know it is a constant. So first we find out the mean of this. The mean is the number of defects per unit in a sample is 330 units of manufactured product was found as follows. So we could find out the mean of this. So we get the 90. Just multiply this. 1 and 2 into 3 into 3, 1, 5 and 2. So get 0, 92, 40, 9, 4. 2, 4, 6, 9, 15, 5, 1 carry. 9, 1, 10 and 4, 14, 55 divided by 330. 145 divided by 330. So we get here 0.43 and 0.4344 I am taking. 439 is there, so I am taking 0.44. And how I get that? I just check it. Five fives. Just 8 to the power 2.9. Just mean of data is not given. The number of defects per unit in sample filtering. Mean of data is not given. So we are finding it out and I am getting it that 0.71. So it may become 0.71. It is the 0.7, 0.351, 3, 240. And we multiply it by n is 330. N is 330. We get here 334. 234.67. Hmm. 212, and I am getting something wrong. Just see once more. I calculate once more here. To work on my better. Because I have not given the whole thing here. I just use this and this is 214.0 and 92, 20, 40, 339 and 4. Just a moment. P0 e to the power minus 0.4 Okay, I think this calculation may be some problem here in this calculation. It is very old. So if we find out the mean, we are getting here 0.44. So we could think that 0.4. If we take the mean is 0.4 of this. And we write here, it is we write the P0 for the zero defect we are checking. So E is e to the power minus 0.4 and 0.4 to the power 0 because R is 0 we are taking and factorial 0. Here the factorial 0 is equal to 1 and the something power 0 is equal to 1. So we get only this one, which is if I write in this way, so e to the power 1 upon e to the power 0.4. It is the negative, then it will go in this way. If I solve it, 2.71 to the power 0.4. And if I simplify this, I get the value 0.67. 0.67. This value I get out of this. And I multiply this with 330. We have the sample size. And 0.67 into 330, we get 221. So I have written something wrong here. I think it may be 221. Okay, the sample size should be 221. It may be some problematic. So in this way, I get this expected frequency with this Poisson distribution formula. Okay, and I write here, then the same process, O minus E square divided by V E, then we get the summation of this. It is 0.02, and we see the table value is 3.84, so it is very, very less than this. So our null hypothesis has been accepted that the number of defects per unit in a sample 332 the manufacturer product was found as follows. So there is no significant difference in the observed and the expected distribution. So there is no significant difference. It is a Poisson. It fits in the Poisson distribution. Okay. This distribution fits in the Poisson distribution. You see, it is very near about. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah, we have calculated means earlier. 145 was the total, and we have divided by 330, which is the total number of samples. Then we got here 0.439, which is 0.44. I have written 0.4. Does that make sense, sir? Ram Prasad ji, I have calculated this.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the Poisson distribution, but we don't have to calculate these all things when we do with R. Okay. And now we see the next one. There is another chi-square test. The firm selling 4 products is interested in finding out whether the sales are distributed similarly among our general class sales of customers. A random sample of 400 sample sales reports provides the following information. It is the homogeneity, related to homogeneity. So there are 4 classes of the customers, 4 general classes, 1, 2, 3, 4. The partners, the factory worker, the businessmen, and the professionals are there. And the firm selling 4 products. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the products. These are the products. And these are the 4 classes we have. Classes may be 4, maybe 3, maybe 2. Not compulsory. The classes should be equal to this. A random sample of 400 sales records provides the following information we have. So then we find it out for this. Get the expected, and that the similar thing what we have done in the first case, test of independence. The same procedure we follow here, and we find it out that the chi-square is 32.161 and the degree of freedom is 9. Why the degree of freedom is 9? Because the number of column is 4. So C minus 1, 3. Number of rows is 4. So R minus 1 is 3. 3 into 3, 9. So degree of freedom is 9. And the table value is 16.919. So our value is greater than that. Chi-square and the table value at 500. Calculated value, which is the this is the less than the our calculated value is the higher. So our null hypothesis has been rejected, and the 4 given products are not homogeneously distributed amongst different classes of customers. Okay. So this is also we used for the homogeneity chi-square test. Anywhere we use this as a homogeneity test. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Now we see F test over the ANOVA. First we see the F test. F test is based on the ratio of 2 variances. The standard deviation everybody know. The square of standard deviation is called the variance. It is also known as the variance ratio test. Okay. The ratio of 2 variances follows a distribution called the F distribution, named after the famous statistician R.A. Fisher. Assumptions of normality, the value of each group are normally distributed. Both the group whose variance we are taking in calculating the F test, they should be normally distributed. Homogeneity. The variance within each group should be equal for all groups. Within each group should be equal for all groups. The independence of error, it states that the error variation of each value around its own group mean should be independent for each value. So we get the S1 square over S2 square. This is the S1 square. We don't take here square root. As the standard deviation, we take the square root. So it is the variance. We get the F test. Larger estimate of the variance we have to keep in the numerator, and the lower we have to write always in the denominator. Okay. So we get the F test. It's very easy. And further, after F test, we use the analysis of variance. There are 2 or 3 types of variance analysis ANOVA. Generally, we use the one-way or two-way classification of ANOVA. The analysis of variance frequently referred to by the contraction of ANOVA is a statistical technique especially designed to test whether the means of more than 2 quantitative populations are equal. If we have 3 groups or 4 groups, we have to compare them all together. Then we use ANOVA. Otherwise, we compare 2 groups with the t-test or by the g-test also. So there is also assumptions, normality, homogeneity, independence of error. So these all the same thing, and we cover this all in our practical R application or the Python software. What are okay. So these are not. I just. So we start with our Python now. We do some practical with Python. Okay. So, and then now the inferential statistics with Python we see. Inferential statistics are used to draw inferences from the sample of a huge data set. Random samples of the data are taken from the population and which are then used to describe and make inferences and predictions about the population. So you will use the G-test and T-test and F-test and the correlation coefficients and the chi-square. So we could use the preliminary library also. Here we have to write the formula, then we could find out something. So I just explain you. Here we could apply the formula. We have to write the formula. If we are using the NumPy and Pandas, there is no method there. It doesn't have method to calculate the G-test and the T-test, but we write the formula. So note the certain preliminary libraries are the important in Python to work on arrays in the data frame for statistical analysis. So do so, we first will import the preliminary libraries like NumPy and this. And here I am taking the G-score, the G-test. So first I will explain you about the G-score. I am taking one data set of students performance.csv and I run this. It is not running because I have not run these libraries. Pandas is required to read the file. So now I am getting this. This is the gender, this is the race, this is the parental level of the education, and the lunch and the test preparation course and the math score, the reading score, the writing score, and the total score. The total score is given here. This is our data set. And first we measure the G score. And then we do the G test. So what we are doing, we are MD1 data set, name I have written. I just write the MD. So it would be better, the my data, not one. I am using MD. Okay. Here also I do the MD. So you would not confuse. Everywhere I do it. So here you see the G score is what? We have the formula that the G score, if you have to find the G score, I have used manywhere. I explain once more that formula to you. Z is x minus x bar over standard deviation. This is our G score, the normalized standardized normal distribution. So what the value of x? So MD total score I am converting in G score. This total score column I am converting in G score. So I just show you that this total score column I am going to convert in G score. This column. So I can convert to 18 in a G score. So this is our formula. So x minus x bar. So total score minus mean of x. The total score dot mean. Does that make sense to everyone? And divided by their standard deviation. Okay. And then I will show you the head. Do you see here the total G score we are getting in this way? Okay. We could write one more thing. Sometimes we take n minus 1. So DDOF, we could write here dot, sorry. DDOF. And if I run this, so what happened to this? I think there is something like that we use sometimes. It's okay, it's working, but it is taking n. Oh, but n is right. You should not take n minus 1 in the standard deviation. I first clear this. So this is our G score we have got. So I just show you how to get the G score. Now, if you want to do the G test, what you will do? You should have the mean of that population mean, and you should have the score of this, then you could find out this. So I think it is very hectic. We can find out the percentage of people who scored about 210, and we take the mean of standard deviation to calculate the area under curve. Here we use the, so here I am using some other libraries, but it is a little bit not good. So we go to the other script and we see how directly we could get the this test. So that would be better. And we are not going in detail using the form. We write the formula, then we find out. So it's a very hectic. If we have the everything there, we could easily find it out. So I'm just a moment. I just search that script. Is it there? EDS there. Inferential is not there.
It was there, EDA.
EDA, exploratory data analysis. That is not an inferential, sir.
EDA script was there, sir.
EDA we have completed in the first session, the P1.
Okay.
Exploratory data analysis.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Mean, mode, median, these all things we have done there.
It's inferential.
We require the inferential.
Okay. Sir, it's there.
No, it's the EDA, again EDA.
Below, a little bit below inferential.
Inferential is there.
Yeah. After hypothesis testing. Oh,
This is R. This is for R. This is here.
Yeah,
This is here.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Inferential data I have to also transfer there. It is there. It is saying that overwrite. I have here, I think. Inferential data set is here. The inferential is here. Okay, I have already. Okay, I have all. No problem. So we are using the NumPy and the Pandas, which are the preliminary library, then Matplotlib, PyPlot for the visualization, Seaborn is also for visualization, and the SciPy.stats for the statistical test, everything. I am using this and I run this. And then I am reading this file, and I'll show you the MD. So you'll see this is our data, inferential data. Unnamed column is there. It is not useful. We will remove it later. Age is there, the income is there, gender is there, SES scale is there. These are the Likert scale, 1 to 5, 5-point Likert scale. Strongly disagree, not certain, agree, strongly agree type questions are there in this 10 questions. Or they have replied. 3 is not certain, 5 is strongly agree, 1 is strongly disagree, 2 is disagree, 4 is agree. So in this way, these are all questions, remarks. And this is the ranking question. This is the multiple choice question, not the ranking. Multiple choice questions for the preference to the shop, grocery item. So this one is for the convenient store, which is very near to our home, mostly. So that is the convenient store, and there is a supermarket in our area, and there is a mall. You know? So there is a wholesaler, and there is the online shopping. So the 5 choices are there for the person multiple choice. So the people, what does people prefer? The person prefer, we could say that this prefer, and the wholesale market and the supermarket, some prefer all, some prefer 3 and 2, and this is multiple choice. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah. So what we do, first we see the columns of the data, and I will show you the columns of this data. First I show you the data again, and then columns of the data. You know that these columns we have read there. Our columns it is showing, and I am removing this column, first column, unnamed 0. It is not useful for me. 1 2 3 4, there is an index is already there. So I drop this column, md dot drop, and then I will write in the square bracket that column name, and axis is 1. 1 is for the column and 0 is for the row. Okay, that is very important. So the column will drop. If I now show you again that MD, so you will see there is no unnamed column. Okay, there was an unnamed column. Now it is not unnamed column. Now I prepare one distribution plot for age. I want to see whether age is normal or not, normally distributed or not. Age is a continuous variable. We have income is a continuous variable. So whether we see it is there are 200 observations overall. So it is normally distributed or not. So you'll see it is normally distributed basically. It look like the norm. And if we see the income, it is not normal. It's the bi-model just like. Okay. And I want to see the MDSES scale value counts, plot kind bar plot I want to make for this. So I'm making bar plot for the categorical data low, medium, and high. So low, medium group, we have the high observation, medium has less, and the higher is. And I also see the gender. So you see the gender is the male is, we have the female and male both, but the male has a 114 year old, the female is only 50, 55 something. And now I see the cross table for the SES scale. I see the counting also. I have just seen the figure. I could not get the perfect value, exact value of low, medium, high SES. We see the high is 55, low is 77, medium is 68. So we are getting this. The function is cross table. Now index is equal to MD, SES, and the columns count. Here I count the gender. So male is 59 year old, male is 141. Now I am taking my first hypothesis, null hypothesis. There is no significant difference in mean of age in sample and population mean. So population mean is given to us, that is the 50. Okay, it is given to hypothetically, we are assuming the population mean is 50. And we see whether it is different or not, our mean. So the states, we are taking this library scipy.states, or I am taking the states. So here you see states.ttest, one sample. It is the one sample t-test. This is the whole function, t-test underscore one sample. And I run this. So I'm getting this statistic. This is the t value I have, or this is the p value I have. So p value is 0.05055. It is greater than 0.05. You see, little bit. It is on the boundary line. So it is greater than 0.05. It means our null hypothesis has been rejected. Oh, sorry, accepted. Accepted because it is greater than 0.05. Here it is the reverse of that thing. The reverse of the t value at the chi-square value. The just opposite. If we are using the using the p value, then it will be just reverse. It is the greater than 0.05, then it is accepted. Less than 0.05, then it is rejected. So it has been accepted. So there is no significant difference in the mean of age in the sample and population. Now I see there is no significant difference in mean age of male and female. So first I have to make a column for the age of male age. I have to bifurcate and I have to bifurcate the female age and the male age. We have the one column of age only. And we have a gender in another column. So for male we have to allocate the male in age and then female in age. So I will do that in this way. Female age, I am doing MD, then MD gender equal to female underscore age. So this I am getting in this way, equal to. And this bracket will finish here. Okay. MD gender equal to female. Okay. And then I am using age as a female age. So it would be a name would be a female age. This age, whatever the age will come as a female age, then the male age. So I run this and I will show you this. You will see it is a female age. 1, 14, 15. These are the observations. So you see the indexing. The first indexing, 14. First indexing, I will show you. It is the first indexing. It is a female. 0 indexing is male. And then 196 is female. And then in between so many. Does that make sense to you? 196 you will see it is female, 67 years. Similarly, I have worked for male also, but I will find out the mean age of female. So I see, I just calculated this, and male mean age if I see, so it is this much. If I see the shape of this, so you will see it is the 141 rows, and one column I have only. This is also 59 rows. Now I am using that t-test, independent t-test. You know that the independent I have explained you earlier. The male is different and the female is different. Does that make sense to everyone? So we are taking here that independent test. A for female I am taking, and the B is a keyword here. A and B are the keyword. So when if you see here the shift and tab, then you will see this AB array like, and this way you could see this all. Okay. So A is female underscore age, B is male underscore age, what we have given here name. Equal variance equal to false. Variance is not equal. In the t-test it should not be equal. So what happened? So I'm getting this t value is this, and this is my p value, which is 0.16. It is greater than 0.05. It means my null hypothesis has been accepted. So there is no significant difference in the mean age of male and female, because we know that it is 59. No, it is I show you the 52 female and the 50 male. So there is no significant difference as it is telling. Now we see few more uh, hypotheses, and I think we would cover it tomorrow. So there are very few, but explanation is very high here. So tomorrow we finish this other, and the other one script more I have, that is for the ANOVA and the other test we will perform there. Okay. So I think it is sufficient for today. Yes, sir.
Yes.
I will share this today to you, and I have shared that PPT already or not. I just see the drive and I just
The shared till Friday we have shared
okay. I
all
just
the
see it.
5.
I just see it. I share this. So let's see the what I have shared or not. So this is the P2 and link I have shared up to 11. The 12th there was no class on the Saturday,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
and material we see hypothesis testing. You know, this I have shared to you the PPT,
Yes,
and
sir.
today I am sharing you that day 6 I am writing today. Okay,
Okay, sir.
day 6. Here I am uploading. Inferential. I upload from there. Python itself. I will upload that because it may be there may be some changes in the Python. This is the inferential. I have uploaded this.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so you could
Yes,
try
sir.
this, and tomorrow I will share one more script for the
Okay.
few more threads are there. So I will cover it tomorrow. It will finish. Okay,
Okay, sir.
inference analysis will finish tomorrow, and then we see the factor analysis there. I think
Yes, sir.
next one. Next one is the factor analysis and PCA in our course.
Okay, sir.
I will show you the syllabus. So inferential we are completing this by tomorrow. We'll post test, main meeting, U test. We will finish this all, and then we have two chapter factor analysis in the PCA. No, they are the small chapters, and we'll finish it by the end of this week. We will finish this course to the
Okay.
Friday. I think we will finish it. So tomorrow is the Tuesday. We will finish this one. Inferential model. This two model we will finish it, and then factor analysis in the PCA and the object oriented program. Oh, we have this object oriented programming, data preparation, feature engineering. This we have. Correct. Okay, it will take 2 days, and it will take. It, it may finish in 1 day or the 2 day it may take. Depends. So factor analysis it will finish in 1 day, and the PCA I will try the cover in the same day. I will try it.
Okay, sir.
It will cover, otherwise it will take 2 days for that. tomorrow our this portion will complete, and then we start tomorrow. Will tell you the it will finish it. No, it will take 1 hour, one and a half, because our class time is now one
Yes, sir. 1.5 hours.
less than 1 and 1.5 hour only nowadays.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So it is taking time. And this week we will finish this complete.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
So, Mr. Suman, have you got the thing, the inferential analysis?
Yes, sir, I got.
Okay. Urmi? Yeah. Okay. You also, Ram Prasad ji?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mariam? Okay. Prasant Sekhar ji? Sri Nivasan ji is already done. Thumbs up. So no need to ask. And Suraj Kumar ji is already giving the responses promptly, so there is no need to ask. Do you have any queries, sir? Suraj Kumar ji? Please unmute yourself.
No, sir.
Yeah.
No doubt. It's clear.
And I think Srinivasan ji got now the what is inferential analysis and how it is being done.
Yes, sir.
Because it is different. It is for the academician. It is good. They use this thing, but it could be useful in your business also. In the industry level, you could apply this hypothesis testing and you could find out the differences.
Yes,
So,
yes, understand.
let's we end this session.
Okay, sir.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.